Good morning, church. Today we're going to be talking about 2 Samuel 11, which is probably the lowest point in David's life, where he sets his sight on Bathsheba. The beginning of this chapter starts out with them going to war with the Ammonites in the spring of the year because they did not fight during the winter when the weather conditions were bad. David chose not to go into battle and instead sent Joab, so that meant that he remained in Jerusalem. And for some reason, he was out walking on his roof. And from the wording, from the Hebrew word, it said that the word walking in that verse suggests that he was like pacing back and forth on his roof. So it was kind of maybe he was up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep. And he saw a woman bathing on her roof. Now, this was also kind of uncommon. People didn't typically do that. So we could think that maybe this was an act of immodesty, maybe on Bathsheba's part. So David saw her bathing, and this was a temptation for him, but he chose not to turn away from it. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has overtaken you that's not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with temptation he will always provide a way of escape that you may be able to endure it." David did not take his way of escape. He continued to look on Bathsheba and lust after her. And so he sent some of his people to go inquire about her. He found out that she was the wife of Uriah the Hittite, which one of his soldiers, one of his mighty men, and that kind of enticed him even more, sadly. He knew that he could probably get away with spending time with Bathsheba because he knew that Uriah was off at war. So David sent his messengers and had Bathsheba brought to him, and he laid with Bathsheba, as the scripture tells us. And then he starts trying to cover up his sin. Bathsheba comes to him and tells him that she's pregnant. And so he develops a little plan that he's going to bring Uriah back and get him drunk and let him go home and spend the night with his wife, so that maybe that will cover up the sin and they will think that that baby is Uriah's. Unfortunately, that plan failed for David because Uriah was very loyal and he would not leave. He wanted to stay there to honor his fellow soldiers. So he did not go back to his house and spend time with his wife because his other soldiers would not have had that privilege to do that. So when that plan failed, David decided that he just had to have Uriah killed. So he actually sent a letter back with Uriah back to Joab and told Joab to send Uriah to the front of the lines in the war, and had Uriah killed. And so then at the end of the chapter, we find that David marries Bathsheba after Uriah's death, and she became his wife. Now, we do read later on that David is a man after God's own heart. But yet we do see that David has lots of bad qualities that we also all have. And so hopefully we can take heart in this, that we know that the man after God's own heart made some giant mistakes in his life, but yet God still sought him. God still used him in huge ways and had big plans for him. But we do need to learn a lesson from David that when there's a temptation, the temptation itself is not a sin. We need to turn away from that temptation and focus on God and what his plans are for us and escape that temptation. So go back and read 2 Samuel chapter 11 and see what little glimpses of God winks that you get out of that. I hope y'all have a great day.